Hello and welcome to the Week 1/Week 0 Games That Matter recap video. I'm really excited about this week. I got the two games that I did in my top 25 predictions video, and then the rest of them were in that Week 1 predictions video. I'm going to recap all of them at this point. There's 25 games total, and I'm really excited about this week. I think you guys will see why here in a little bit. So for starters, we had Miami of Florida versus number 8 Florida. I picked Florida to win this one. I felt like Miami might struggle a little bit. They're kind of untested at the quarterback position. I will say this, Miami's quarterback impressed me. The guy got sacked more than 10 times in the game, but he never threw an interception. He did fumble a few times. A lot of those were recovered by his own team. The thing I would like to see from him, if you're a Miami fan, I would think, is maybe throwing the ball away a little more. Could have avoided a few of those sacks. But otherwise, he had a pretty good game against a really, really tough defense. That being said, Florida won the game, even though they tried their hardest to hand it over at the very end with that pass interference play call on the 4th and 34, where even if they'd let the dude catch it and just tackled him right there, he still would have been about 10 yards short of the first down. But they had a pass interference, kept the drive alive, but still, Florida comes away with the win, and that's who I picked. Next was Arizona at Hawaii. Now, I picked this game because it was the only other Division I game on. I picked Hawaii to win this one. And boy, was it an exciting game. The final came down to, I think, 45-38, and Arizona had the ball at the Hawaii 31-yard line in the final 10 seconds of the game, and their quarterback scrambled for 30 yards. He came up 1 yard short of the game-tying touchdown. Hawaii walks away with their first win of the season. Then we come to Thursday, where Florida A&M was playing number 17 UCF. Now, I picked UCF to win this game. It wasn't even going to be close as a non-Division I team. So I picked UCF to win, and they did handily. Next was Georgia Tech at number 1 Clemson. Now, I picked Clemson to win. Didn't really think it was going to be much of a competition, and it really wasn't. However, there were some startling things if you're a Clemson fan, but don't panic. Your quarterback kind of played a little sloppy. Be happy he played sloppy against Georgia Tech and not against A&M, who Clemson will be playing next week. I think he'll turn it around, but Etienne looked amazing. 205 yards and 3 touchdowns on 12 carries. That's insane. The man is gonna be a starter on Sundays. I'm calling it right now. I mean, it's not really that hard to call. Next was Texas State at number 12, Texas A&M. Now, I picked Texas A&M to win this game. They did pretty easily, not really a competition. Number 14, Utah at BYU. Now, I picked Utah to win this one. I'm proud of BYU for keeping it close for as long as they did, but Utah pulls away in the end, gets a big rivalry win. On Friday, there was Tulsa at number 18, Michigan State. Now, I picked Michigan State to win this game. They did. They kept it little interesting in the first half, but it was pretty much Michigan State's game from the start. Number 19, Wisconsin at South Florida. Now, I picked Wisconsin to win this one. I did not expect what happened, though. I did not expect Wisconsin to shut out South Florida and then just run the score up on them. And I don't mean that at a negative facet. I just mean that Wisconsin just kept scoring. They weren't even trying at the end. They just were. And that brings us to our Saturday slate, where we had FAU at number 5, Ohio State. Not really a contest. Ohio State just blew it out of the water and then pulled their foot off the gas and actually, when the second strings were in there, FAU got a few touchdowns. But by that time, the game was already decided by the time they started scoring that much, so not really going to hold that against Ohio State. Next was Northern Iowa at number 21, Iowa State. I picked Iowa State to win this one, and oh boy, they almost didn't. Had to go to triple overtime with Northern Iowa, but pulled out a 29-26 victory in the end. So all's well that ends well, I guess. They start off on the right foot, but not as good a one as you would want if you're a fan. Next, at South Alabama at number 24, Nebraska. Now, I picked Nebraska to win this game, and they did pretty handily. It was a little back and forth in the beginning, but then they just pulled away. Next was Eastern Washington at number 13, Washington. I picked Washington to win this one, hands down. They won it, no contest. Duke at number 2, Alabama. I picked Alabama to win this one. No surprise they did. I think the surprise came from the fact that the first score of the game was in the second quarter, about 10 minutes left in the first half before anybody scored in the game. Really slow start for Alabama, but they picked up from there, and I think the final was like 42-7 or 42-3, something along those lines. Big win, kind of like expected, just started a little slower than expected. Next on the slate was Idaho at number 15, Penn State. Now, I didn't expect Idaho to ever be in this game, and they weren't. But I also didn't expect Penn State to drop 79 points on them. Penn State comes away with a huge victory. And after that, we had Northwestern at number 25, Stanford. I picked Stanford to win that game, but I did say keep an eye on that one, and I wasn't wrong. That was a good game. Northwestern kept in it for a while. Stanford comes out with the big win to start off their season. Number 22, Syracuse at Liberty. Syracuse offense did not light it up like a lot of people thought they would. 24 points is not like as much as it's not as much as they expected. That being said, they shut out Liberty. They're one of two teams this weekend that shut out a Division I opponent. So you got to give their defense credit for that. It's going to make an interesting matchup later on down the season when we get the Syracuse-Clemson game. But Syracuse comes away with the win. Now, Georgia, number 3 Georgia at Vanderbilt. I picked Georgia to win this game, and they did. Didn't run up the score like a lot of people anticipated, myself included, but it still was a big win. And there was Georgia Southern at number 6 LSU. Now, I picked LSU to win this game, and one of the things that I thought about from this was that LSU, I think they were trying to prove themselves this year after having that close call and then that loss last year, I think it was, to a non-SEC team. They're not a non-Power 5 non-SEC team, and it kind of hurt the team's ego for a bit there. I think they were coming out this year to try and prove that off the bat that they don't need to worry about that. And they did, pretty handily. Middle Tennessee at number 7, Michigan. Middle Tennessee kept it really close to the first quarter. I think at one point they had a 7-3 lead over Michigan. But Michigan blew it up after that, and it just was never close ever again after that. I picked Michigan, and they won. Number 11, Oregon at number 16, Auburn. I picked Auburn to win this game, and I'll be honest with you, by about the third quarter, halfway through the third quarter, I had written it off that I'd gotten this one wrong, but then Auburn pulls off that epic comeback, wins the game. I was surprised. I think Auburn is going to have to correct their behavior because they can't rely on doing that every single time. So it's going to be interesting to see how they shape for the rest of the season. Miami of Ohio at number 20, Iowa. I picked Iowa to win this game, and they did pretty, I wouldn't say easily, but they took care of business. Next was Louisiana Tech at number 10, Texas. I picked Texas to win this game, and they did in actually rather spectacular fashion. They put up a big score, which has not been known from Texas recently. But their defense also played really well, which was another question for them. So I'm impressed with Texas, but they get their real test next week when they play LSU. New Mexico State at number 23, Washington State. I picked Washington State to win this one. They did pretty handily, took care of business. Then the Sunday game was Houston at number 4, Oklahoma. I picked Oklahoma to win this game. I thought Houston might keep it close. Houston hung in the game for a while, but it really didn't pan out for them. However, it did pan out for Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts I think, scored 6 total touchdowns in that game. They scored 7 touchdowns. I think he threw for 4 and ran for 2. Ran for over 150 yards and passed for almost over 300, I believe. If he continues at that rate, we may have Oklahoma winning a 3rd consecutive Heisman Trophy with a different player each year. It's going to be insane if that happens. I can't wait to see how it pans out for the rest of the season. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that one. You can bet that. And then last but not least, we have number 9 Notre Dame at Louisville. I picked Notre Dame to win that game. That being said, I did not expect Notre Dame to have as much trouble early as they did. I am happy that they turned it around in the second quarter, and from then on pretty much held Louisville to 3 points only. But those first 2 drives, they led up on an 86 and a 75-yard drive. Most of Louisville's yardage for the whole game were on those 2 drives. The defense seemed to get their rhythm going, but it's a few concerns at quarterback with Ian Book looking a little skittish through the game. Hopefully they can iron that out. They got a bye week this week, and then they play New Mexico at home in week 3. So they got a little while, but the game following that New Mexico game is the Georgia game. So we'll see how that goes. So that's it. And now for the reason that I was so excited for the season this week. For the first time since I started doing these videos back in 2015, I had perfect on the week for my games that matter. 25 games, and I got all 25 correct. That's 100% correct. First time I've ever done that, not including the Army-Navy week where the only options are 100 or 0. So, really excited about that. Can't wait. My overall for the week was 75 out of 85, which is, I believe, an 88%, something like that. But I can't wait for next week. It's going to be a lot of fun games. We've got 2 top 25 matchups next week. So it's going to be fun. I can't wait to see you guys in the next video. If you like what I'm doing, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And leave a comment below. Let me know what you guys are thinking. And I'll see you guys in the next video.